Senator Russell calling in on line 0.
Oh, I just told him that.
All right, sir. Hello? Yes? Can you hold, please, for just a moment? Operator? Yes, I'm holding. Thank
Hello?
you. Just a moment, please, Mr. Senator. The president will be right with you.
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Senator Russell.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Well, you always leaving town. You must not like it up here.
Well, you left. I figured that you got out of town that country could get along a whole lot better without me than it could you.
I don't know.
So I got out. No, that dang Warren Commission business has whooped me down, so we got through today, and I just, you know what I did? I went over and got on the plane and came home. I didn't even have a toothbrush. I didn't bring a shirt. I got a few little things here. I didn't even have my pills, antihistamine pills, to take care of me in Fassina.
Why did you get in such a rush?
Well, I've just worn out fighting over that damn report.
Well, you ought to take another hour and go and get your clothes.
No. Well, they were trying to prove that the same bullet that hit Kennedy first was the one that hit Connolly. Went through him and through his hand, his bone, and into his leg, and everything else. Just a lot of stuff there. I couldn't hear all the evidence and cross-examine all of them. But I did read the record, and so I don't know. I was the only fellow there that practically that suggested any change whatever and what the staff had got up. This staff business always scares me. I like to put my own views down. But we've got you a pretty good report.
Well, what difference did it make which bullet got Connolly?
Well, it don't make much difference, but they said that they believe, that the commission believe that the same bullet that hit Kennedy hit Connolly. Well, I don't believe it.
I don't either.
And so I couldn't sign it. And I said that Governor Connolly testified directly to the contrary, and I'm not going to approve of that. So I finally made them say there was a difference in the commission in that. Part of them believed that wasn't so. And, of course, if a fellow was accurate enough to hit Kennedy right in the neck on one shot and knock his head off the next one when he was leaning up against his wife's head, not even wound up, well, he didn't miss completely with that third shot. According to that theory, he not only missed the whole automobile, but he missed the street. Well, the man's a good enough shot to put 2 bullets right into Kennedy. He didn't miss that whole automobile. Nor the street. But anyhow, that's just a little thing. But
what's the net of the whole thing? What does it say? Oswald did it, and he did it for any reason?
Well, just that he was a general misanthropic fellow, that he had never been satisfied anywhere he was on Earth, in Russia or here, and that he had a desire to get his name in history and all. I don't think you'll be displeased with the report. It's too long, but it's a whole volume.
Unanimous?
Yes, sir. I tried my best to get in a dissent, but they'd come around and trade me out of it by giving me a little old thread of it.
We got a couple of destroyers out there.
I didn't on television. It had some more trouble there.
And we don't know what the hell happened, and they don't know. It's night. And what happened is their radar picked up what they thought was surface craft. They fired a warning shot, and I imagine these guys are pretty nervous, and they don't want us to get a ship sunk, and they know it's dangerous as hell out there, and so they fired a warning shot, and the radar indicated they have nothing now except electronic stuff. But the radar indicates that there was some ships coming in on them, some kind of surface craft. They don't know what. They don't know whether it's Vietnamese. No.
I wouldn't get excited.
And they all got worried here today, and they always start out, Dick, I never saw these people talk so big and wind up with so little. This last attack, they told me positively they'd had 9 torpedoes launched. And then, by God, at one point you couldn't tell whether any of them had been launched.
Oh, so they didn't know, and I'm not convinced to them yet that they were.
Well, McNamara says today they got the proof now. They got it from communications and intercepts and everything else. There's no question of what they fired from 6 to 9, but we had a big round about that today at lunch. And I said, I'm just tired of these damn fellows getting scared to death. They just remind me of a woman that's having a change of life, thinks everybody walks in the room trying to rape her. And I want to get some better evidence than you're getting before I move. And if you think I'm going to start bombing the hell out of the MiGs on the airports, why, you're going to have to get me something to show that somebody shot at me. And they haven't been able to do it. So I've held it up all afternoon, and now they come in tonight and say, well, they agree that my hunches or instincts are probably better than their information. But they do have the poor destroyer commander. He says he's convinced in his own mind that this electronic thing is accurate, and there was some kind of a ship he's shooting at. And he believes that he might have hit one of them. But he can't find any debris or anything to prove it. And
the question what he's shooting at is whether they shot at us or not.
Well, we have no information at all that they ever shot at us, and we're not so damn sure that there's even any ships. He might have been shooting at a whale, for all I know. I've read all the reports now. I just finished it, and I started calling you when they were trying to shove me a little bit, and I held it up. Now they all agreed we ought to close up for the night, and weather's closed in, and they can't get any more stuff, and everybody, the admirals and all the Joint Chiefs, and even LeMay, I don't think's ready to go bombing tonight, and let Peiping live another night.
Well, I wouldn't think about bombing anybody anywhere unless I knew I'd been attacked. I don't mean by that you got to wait till you got a ship hit or knocked out, but
they say that they saw these ships moving. Radar indicates surface crafts are moving toward them. They fired to warn them, and they just kept coming. So then they fired, and they think that they sunk one of them, but they don't know. They just disappeared on the radar.
Was any fire? Exploded?
No.
You can't hit one of those little old torpedoes.
That's right. It looks like it. Looks like it. That's what I pointed out to them, but they didn't see any of that. Didn't see any of it, so we're just going to close down now and let it go for a while.
Well, I don't know about that. I just think those fellas, got to understand, Mr. President, fellas 8,000 miles from home up there in a strange bay. It don't take much to get him.
I know that. I mean,
I don't care how cool his nerves are. I'm not imputing any lack of stability to the people who are there. They are all fine young men, but there's never been any brave man that out in the war that shot a lot of times at a bush or a piece of paper blowing along or something he thought was the enemy about to attack him.
Well, now another thing, you ever hear of Eccles County, Georgia?
Yes, sir, I know where Eccles County is.
Well, you got a sheriff.
Eccles County in Georgia, got about 450 people.
Well, they got up a list of counties that in your disaster area. I don't certify any of them. Your state does that. And they say that Eccles County ought to be eligible for any of this disaster thing. The sheriff gives out an interview, said they didn't have anything but one bent TV antenna. So that's a hell of a reflection on the honesty of the sovereign state of Georgia.
Well, I don't know a thing about that, Mr. President. I don't even know who the sheriff of that county is now. It's a very small county. It's right below Valdosta. It belongs to the paper companies. And they planted all them pine trees, Holly, Langdale, and the paper companies have, and there's nobody left down there.
I guess we just ignore it. I thought I'd tell him to call the governor and tell him, by God, I don't want to be in having rid of it.
I think I'd tell him that the law required that they be a local certificate before they were declared a distress area.
I just declare that
it's the law.
That's all it did. Now, this Mills fellow, this banker that you know, I asked you about the other day. Mills Lane. Now, I found out today they had on a list yesterday for me to name the Communication Satellite Board, which is the most important thing that I've got to name, and it got to be shrewd and smart and able and tough and honest, and be just like you are on the Warren Commission. And so they had this fellow's name on there, so I started seeing where it came from. I asked if you had called up and urged anything, said no, but said Talmadge had. And Talmadge had called Walter Jenkins a couple of times, but Walter hadn't put it on the list. But Ralph Dungan, Kennedy's man, came in and said that this is a top fella and he ought to really be on it. And you know how Morris and all of them are going to raise hell, and I don't know a thing about it. He was at one of my meetings, and as I remembered it, you told me that he was a great friend of Talmadge's and the governor's. Now we haven't heard from the governor. I got to talk to the governor, I guess, if it had it, but I didn't want to do it.
The governor will be for him. There's no question about that.
Well, is he a Russell man?
No, sir, he never has been, but he's a good man. I want to tell you that.
Well, I don't want to be appointing anybody that's not going to be for you or that's cause you any problem.
Well, he's he's more of a Talmadge man, and
he's red hot for Talmadge. They say Talmadge has never shown any interest in anybody around here except this one he's called on through.
He puts up a whole lot of money for the fellas that will do what he wants them to do, and you know how damn independent I've been cursed with it all my life, and I just, unless you make some commitment to him before you elected, he don't come in, and I just never have done that in my life, and but he's no telling how much money he's put up in Herman Talmadge's campaign or in Sanders's. He financed Sanders's campaign. As a matter of fact, he's got a note now in his bank, I've heard on pretty good authority, for $190,000 what left over in the last campaign. But Mills Lane is a capable man, and he's not quite as stable as I'd like to have him. He's a little flighty because he inherited all his wealth from his father, who was one of the truly great builders of this state. But he's a man that demands a lot of adulation, and I just never have been much of the Salem kind. But he's a good man, and I certainly have any objection to you appointing him on that commission if Herman and Carl won't him on there.
I haven't talked to Carl. I don't know what he wants, but Herman hadn't talked to me. Herman has called.
Carl more than he does Herman.
Well, you told me the other day when you said something about him coming up to one of my meetings that I believe he's on the small business list or the banker's list or something. And
it wasn't a little man.
You told me that he was friendly, but Herman hadn't called me. He's talked to Walter, and they didn't want to bother me, I guess, and talked to Ralph Duncan on the staff. Now the next fellow's on it's named Rubel, who's Assistant Secretary of Defense under McNamara, and I never heard of him. Walter Jenkins, Rubel.
R-U-B-L-E?
Yeah. And
God, I had to confirm him. Oh, no, he must be one of those deputy secretaries of defense.
They said he was very able from California, and I thought maybe you ought to...
I'm confirming that.
You ought to know him, man.
Well, I can't keep up with all those deputies. McNamara got a small army of them over there. And I can't keep up with them. I think I know that most of those have been confirmed, but there's only 23 of those. And there must be... 35 or 40 of these assistants.
Well, he's going back to California now. I mean, we'll appoint him.
Well, I don't know a thing about him. Mills Lane is an honorable man, a highly honorable man. He likes to be recognized. He demands he be petted and shown some attention. But he is almost fantastically loyal to people that he thinks show him the attention he deserves. The only time Ernie Vanderbilt asked my political advice was when he was a candidate for governor. Lane got him up there and said, I'll put up any money that's necessary for you to run and go, but you've got I want you to do that so and everything. And Ernie came to me and said, I never have asked you any advice, but would you promise to do this? I said, no, I would not. But I'm not telling you not to, because that fella can hurt you. I said, but he can't support your opposition. So you're in a more advantageous position than I'd be, and I'd just tell him that you were his friend and do what you could for him. You couldn't make any definite promise. And he did, but he came on through and supported Ernie. Incidentally, the last man that ever offered to give me any money and that had any money died the other day, and he was your friend, too. Though he didn't believe in a damn thing you believe in.
Who was that?
Charlie Daniels.
Yes, bless his heart, and he did give me money.
Did he?
Yeah, in 1960 he gave me...
I'm rather surprised he had, but he died the other day. And
I saw it. I wrote his wife a letter, and he gave me $10,000 in New York in the campaign.
He's the last man I ever knew that I could get as much as $5,000 out of him.
You got one woman up here who'll give you 3 or 4 times that much. She's worth $14 million now, you know, and she's able to give a hell of a lot. She went out to Ohio yesterday and pulled a little thing over. They didn't do any advance work, and they had 200 or 300 to airport, and they all wrote stories about not having the crowd to airport. She had 3,500 women at a tea, but the whole goddamn story was on the airport. She came in hanging her head. Poor little old Linda called up tonight from Greece and said a Greece paper had attacked her because they didn't like the government over there, and they said that they invited the president's daughter and something. So the Greek one Greek paper jumped on her, and I told her she was a hero and get rid of that.
She did a fine job out there. I'm very devoted to those two girls, and I try to follow them in the papers. Of course, I ain't worried about Ladybug, because I know she's going to always do the proper, correct thing. But the girls, being younger, I follow them, and I thought that from what I could read that she acquitted herself to a great distinction.
She has. She's done well. She's done well. What?
She always has. I'm just watching out. I'm hoping and praying it won't ever be any change in that.
What do you think's happened this week politically? Do you think Goldwater's made any gains?
No.
What do you think about
I think he solidified his support.
What do you think he's done with what's the Thurman thing? Is that good or bad?
I don't think that. I think that'll cut both ways.
I'm
catching hell on that. I got over 700 telegrams from the South demanding well, it wasn't demanding. They said, you've been our leader anyway. Haven't you got as much courage as sons of Thurman? Of course, Thurman is just showing political sense. He knows 25% of the vote in South Carolina is Negro. He knows if Donald Russell runs against him, he won't get a damn one out of them. And if Donald Russell gets 26% of the white vote, that he'll beat him for the nomination. And he's hedging against that. He's getting over in where he won't have to face that primary. That's what's been scaring the devil out of me. We got 300,000 niggers registered down here. And in the primary, I won't get but a handful of them. I won't get over 10,000 out of the 300,000. And so it makes it pretty tough to run. But he's not going to change me. He cause any great excitement.
Can Donald Russell give him a raise?
Oh, if he runs against him, he would beat him in a primary. I don't know whether he beat him in a general election or not. He could have beat him in a primary, and he probably would beat him in a general election. Strom is he's got about 30% of the white vote in South Carolina would wade through hell and blood up to the knees for him, and the rest of them indifferent, apathetic toward him.
Does Strom hurt me any in Georgia?
No, except you solidify all the opposition to you over in Richmond County around Augusta, and that's because his brother there, Dr. Thurman, is one of the most popular men in the county. He's entirely different from Strom. Strom is a reserved, ingrowing fella, and his brother over there in Richmond County, who's one of the best doctors in the county, a hell of a lot smarter than Strom ever was, is a very popular man. That's in Carl Sanders' home county, though, and Carl, I guess, can handle that. I don't know. He comes from down there. That's his county. That's where he's elected governor from. But I'm sure that he can handle it, because Dr. Thurman hasn't got anything but his personality, and Carl is the governor. That gives him a lot of power.
When are you coming back?
I just got in here about 5 minutes ago. I just walked in. They said you was calling. I
called you early today because that's before this thing kind of drifted. But I wound up about 30, 40 minutes ago, and I decided.
That's exactly right. And you have to watch these people all the time. All of them, and it's contagious. You know, a little excitement over there in that Pentagon is contagious. It can start out with a colonel. It can run up through the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and when they get excited, well, then the secretaries go to worrying about it a little bit. And you have to watch that all the time.
Well,
of course, we can't afford now to let anybody impose on us in any degree. But I've watched these departments up there, military departments, for a long time. They got some of the finest people in the world in them. And if I were in that position, I'd probably get just excited as hell. But I'm not in that position, and it's my business to try to see that the excitement don't carry over where to do harm. Just like it is yours. That's reading for civilian control. That's reading you, the commander-in-chief of all of them. Just prevent...
Now, what about this damn thing they keep raising hell about not having any weapon system? When I announce them, they say that's politics. So I guess they...
Well, I don't know about that, Mr. President. I didn't know they had that thing. To be frank with you, I had breakfast with McNamara over at the Pentagon. Well, it was one day this week. I reckon day before yesterday. And he told me that they had that thing and they were going to announce it. I've been pushing McNamara like hell on this anti-missile and anti-satellite weapon. He never had believed one could be perfected. But he told me that morning before last that he had got convinced now it could be, and then that they had one on satellites, and you were going to announce it on this trip. And I was delighted to hear it. I didn't know it was operational and ready to go.
Well, he says it is, and he says they were about ready to explode it on us. The magazines already had 2 stories on it, Aviation
I
Daily.
didn't know it was operational, but I've been pushing him. We've been spending $500 million a year on that, and I haven't got but 2 concerns about our defense system. We're way ahead of everybody and can stay there, but 2 of them that are vital, and one of them is the anti-submarine warfare program, and we have not had a good program there, and McNamara agrees with that. And the other is the anti-missile program, or anti-satellite program. It's all the same thing. And he says now they've overcome the difficulties that have been created there, and they've got something that'll work. I didn't check into it in detail. I asked him where it was. I'm going to see it after I find out a little more about it. Because I want to see it, find out just how they're going to work it. But I think that all that does have more effect than you would think it does. The people generally, while they whoop and holler at a political meeting, that don't necessarily mean that something's sinking in and is influencing public opinion in the country. You don't need much of it for that matter. Just Goldwater gets himself in trouble every time he talks. However, he's adopted a kind of a professional conversational system in big crowds. According to some of the people that saw him here in Georgia, that he just sort of rambles along, talks to them without trying to make any issue. He's not going to take anybody with that, I reckon, but he certainly seems to be holding what he has.
Okay. Much obliged.
You have a good trip?
Yeah, I had it wonderful. Couldn't have been better.
I was very much concerned about that picture about you about to fall out of that damn...
Oh, Dick, it never happens. Dick, it never happens. That never happens. That's just all outrageous. You can't see anything in the picture. I never about to fall out of any automobile. Never come close to 3 feet of being in one, and always got my... I saw it, and I thought it was Washington Post. I may be wrong. Could have been the Star. Yeah, no, the AP got a picture last week in Georgia. They got one of me going.
Ms. Brown grabbed you.
No. No, you can't see it in the picture. That's their cut line to make it an attractive picture. And just a lot of hokum like the picture the other day crawling under that log down there in Georgia when I was walking in that slippery mud.
Good, safe picture.
Not anything wrong with this. This is that big old Secret Service car, and you got a hold on each hand. You're holding on to something, and when you do turn a corner, sometimes you roll around with it, but I'm about to fall anywhere, anytime, and they just do it. And I kid them, but they've got to make their job too.
Well, I guess they have.
And then, if you're just standing there, that's not a picture. You've got to show your...
I read the headline. I said, well, damn it, not that.
No, they've got them grasping.
That hand with that fellow there, because that fellow wasn't that important.
No, it's not shaking hands at all. We're not even shaking hands. We're just waving. We're just waving, and I wave with one hand, hold on.
I don't know why I just got the impression that you'd lean with.
No, I was waving one hand and holding on with the other, and they're driving 10, 15, 20 miles an hour, and the people are 8 or 10 deep, and they were just...
You had a firm hold on the handrest.
And I got Secret Service men on both sides of me standing up there, but they just do that, you know.
Yeah, well, it's all right.
Give your sister my love.
All right,
bye.
Good night.